Today we are going over the HK SP5. I got this a couple days ago. I took it out to a buddy's place, put maybe 3 or 4 mags through it just to make sure everything runs okay. I don't have a whole lot of time on it, and then the shooting that I did do was without the SB Tactical brace on here. So we'll talk about a few things first. So the price point on the HK version is pretty high. Retail is about $27.99. There are places you can get them cheaper. However, finding one that's in stock and then purchasing one is actually, kind of tough to do. So I did end up paying retail for it, but I used some gift cards that I had and I traded in some old firearms that I don't really shoot anymore, which brought my out-of-pocket costs to about $1,800. So I'm pretty happy with that price point, especially getting an actual HK version for about the same price that you'd spend on like a PTR or a Zenith. Now, they do make clones. There's tons of different brands: POF, PTR, Zenith, Dakota Tactical. And they're all the reproduction or clone of this particular gun. So getting something that is the original definitely had a huge appeal to me, especially when it says HK on there. It says HK on the top, and then on the little description right there. So just keep that in mind. This is going to hold value a little bit better. I'm not saying that those other the clones and stuff aren't, but having something that is HK or genuine is definitely going to help if I ever decide to sell it. I don't think I will, but I can't plan the future. So, like I said, I put 100 rounds through it, or 100 or so rounds through it, just to make sure everything works. And this is kind of what I came up with just from my limited time with it so far. So the muzzle here does come with a tri-lug on there, as well as a 1/2x28 thread, and then it comes with this nice little thread protector. It's texturized, and it looks pretty good, but I will say, just within those couple hundred, or that 100 or so rounds, the thread protector, when you crank it down as hard as you can with your hands, it does start to back off. Kind of annoying, so you got to pay attention to that. I'm going to solve that by putting a little bit of blue Loctite on there just to keep that from going anywhere. Now, other than that, I don't have much to say about the barrel accuracy. Everything was about what you would expect for a subgun. I didn't do grouping or anything like that. That's going to be coming in a future video. Front sight post, pretty standard for an MP5, SP5, whatever you want to call it. It's got a circle with a fixed pin in the front. I don't believe that's adjustable. The front sight block has no wobble or anything to it, as it should. The sling or front sling attachment pin, while I didn't use it, seems pretty solid. I don't think that's going anywhere. And then the handguards here. So the handguards, this is the standard wide handguard on there, kind of the old-timey or old-school look to it. They make a ton of different ones out there that you can purchase. Ones that have a little bit more texturizing, rubberized. You can get rails, you can get freaking M-lock on there, ones with lights built in. I personally like the look of the kind of old-school one. I might purchase one that has the light on there, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, for now, I really like just the old school look to it. I will say it is a little bit slick, and I haven't quite figured out where I want to put my hands. If I want to ride my thumb on top of the charging handle, go all the way out forward. I think this is probably the most appropriate grip for me, but I still got to play with it. I have zero experience with an MP5 variant. Going from there, the charging handle. Charging handle does have a little bit of play. I don't think that's an issue. I think that's the way it's supposed to be, especially for a military-style gun. Tolerances on it aren't, 100%. They do have a little bit of margin for error. You can do the HK slap. I personally don't. When I reload, I'm gonna lock the bolt to the back, replace the magazine, and then manipulate the bolt. I think it's just a little bit more efficient way. You're not having to wind your hand up, slap it all the way down, and then bring your hand back up to the handguard. So that's just my personal opinion. Like I said, I still got to play with it, figure out what works best for me. Upper receiver looks really great. The finish on there is awesome. The wells look really good. You know, everything looks nice and clean. No major bulging or anything like that. It is a stamped steel upper, so there's not a whole lot to be said about it. It's machine made, so everything looks really good on it. Finish looks awesome. I don't see any blemishes or scrapes or anything like that. Once we get to the magazine well and mag release, so just that I noticed in shooting those couple mags, the SP5 does come with 2 genuine HK steel magazines, but the bottom of them are kind of sharp. So, you know, if you're like me, I kind of tend to grip towards the bottom when I reload. My hand did get kind of cut up with some of these sharp edges. I think I'm just going to solve that by wrapping some tape on the bottom, and hopefully that'll protect my hand enough to, you know, not hinder my reload at all. Super awesome. These ran flawlessly. Like I said, only a couple times through, but I didn't have any issues. Now when it comes to the mag well, it is pretty narrow. There's not a whole lot of flare to it, so you do have to line it up just right. And then, you know, like I said, when we talk about reloads, it is pretty hard to insert a full magazine on a closed bolt. So it's better to, you know, rack the bolt and leave it locked back, change your magazine, and then close your bolt. That way you don't have to really slam it in there or have it, you know, kind of seat in, and then when you're trying to shoot, nothing happens and the mag falls out. So just keep that in mind. There are some particular weapons manipulation that you have to do when you're running a MP5 or SP5. From there, trigger housing. Pretty simple. There is a little bit of play in there. I think that's pretty normal. Like I said, I have zero experience with an MP5, but even military guns, there's nothing more. The wobble isn't any more than like a generic AR-15, you know, kind of wobble between the upper and lower receiver. So that's completely fine by me. It does feature ambidextrous safety levers. They are both the kind of large ones. So if you look at some of the older pictures or whatever, they do kind of have a short one. So really it would stop about at the end of my finger there. And it was really hard to reach for people with hands that were a little bit smaller. So the fact that they included extended ones is awesome. Super easy to manipulate. Nice and crisp. It is a little heavy, but I'm sure that's something that'll wear in as soon as I use it enough. The trigger on it, while it is a little bit mushy, you know, I think that's something that you're going to get with kind of military style guns. There's a little bit of play till you hit a wall, a little bit of creep past it, and then it breaks nice and easy. The reset on it is actually pretty good, nice and positive. You can hear it, you can feel it, and you know, follow-up shots aren't an issue. I believe it's about a 6.5, 7 pound pull. I haven't tested the pull weight yet, but you know, with a little bit of practice, I don't think anybody would have problem absolutely shredding with this thing. Now, that brings me to the rear sight. Rear sight, I don't have any issue with it. I think it works fine, but there's something to be said that it does not come with the kind of circular drum style. These are more of a notched, as from what little research I've done. I believe this came from an MP5K rather than an actual MP5. You can adjust the width of the rear notch by just rotating it 90 degrees to pick whatever one you want. You can adjust this for windage using a Phillips head screwdriver on the back. That pretty much brings me to everything that it comes with. The firearm, when it comes out of the packaging, does just have an end cap on there with a sling attachment point. I put on the SB Tactical brace this morning. This is the SP5A, I believe. And it was kind of a pain in the ass to put on. This rear pin was really tight on there. I guess, you know, right in the directions it says the tolerances aren't, you know, as high as HK's, so it might be a little bit tight. I did actually have to hammer it in with a rubber mallet. Not a problem. I don't think I damaged anything. I didn't scratch the finish or anything like that. And as far as this goes, like I said, I don't have any time on this. I put it on just a few minutes ago, but once it's on there, it's nice and solid. It is folding. You can release that mechanism by pushing in that button. Folds up nice and compact, and then when you open it, it locks very positively. The SP5 tactical brace is a little bit more rigid than I anticipated, so that's super awesome. But one thing I noticed just from, you know, shouldering it and stuff just right after I put it on is that the back edges here are actually kind of sharp. So if you're just running a t-shirt or something, you really kind of gotta, you know, it's going to rub a little bit, or it's not going to cut you or anything, but it is a little bit uncomfortable. Now, along with that, you could probably, you know, sand that down or file it down or something just to make it, or make those edges not quite as sharp. And, you know, like I said, I still got to play around with the brace a little bit, but I don't think, yeah, this doesn't lock at all or anything. It's just held on there by friction. You extend it, nice and positive lockup, and you're ready to go. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, so overall, it's an awesome gun. It's a little bit heavier than I would have thought. I believe it's about 7.5 pounds, which is heavy for essentially a 9mm gun. Now, you know, you can, well, I digress. I don't actually know how heavy it is, but it is a little bit heavier than I anticipated. So that's something to keep in mind, but you are getting a sub gun. It's got an 8.86-inch barrel on there, and you know, it's a lot more maneuverable than an AR-15, or even probably some of the pistol versions, just because it's, you know, the ergonomics are a lot better. What is it like to shoot? The recoil impulse is actually kind of weird. It's a lot slower than like an AR-15 or any of these other kind of direct blowback guns, just because of that roller delay system in there. So it's a nice slow push. It's a lot softer than like a CMMG Banshee or like a Stray Bog or anything like that, just because it's got that roller delay in there. So that's super cool. That's something I've never felt before, and it's really soft shooting, so you can, you know, stay on target super easy. I think it's awesome. I'm super happy with it, and then I'll keep you guys updated once I get some more time with this. You know, I don't have a whole lot of experience right now. These are just kind of my initial impressions. So if you thought this video was cool, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.